You're listening to His Empire of Dirt by Pearlandpine, Chapter 20. Michael Afton hallucinates in kinda a good way. The next day, Henry's completely consumed with some essay for midterms, and he's pulling at his hair when he realizes that he's supposed to go over to Bella's before he goes to church and help them move boxes about. They've gotten big donations in lately, which Henry raves about, and William rolls his eyes at. "What do you need to go over there for?" Mike asks, almost choking on an apple as he does so, and instead of helping him, William snickers over the book he's reading. "She needs help setting up a new couch. I was going to, because Clara's busy at work, but I have to go. Soon," Henry says, all entirely in one breath. He'll mostly suffer the same affliction when he's older, of trying to be in 10 places all at once. He'll try to be a father to Mike, a mourner in the graveyard, a confidant and lover of William, an owner of Freddy's, and a totem of the town. He'll never be able to say no to anyone, and he will never put himself first. And, Mike figures, he'll hate himself and his life for the entirety of the time. Mike subconsciously adds, "Help Henry with everything you have" to his time travel itinerary. "Don't worry about it," Mike says after coughing out bits of his apple, flipping William off when his roommate continues to laugh at his tiny predicament. "Me and Will go over there and help her, yeah? Don't worry." "Really?" Henry's eyes light up from the essay he's working on. "It'd really mean the world to me." "Oi, what are you signing me up for?" William scoffs, and Mike throws a pillow at him. "Fine. Interrupt my me time, why don't you?" "I will, and I did. We'll go over, Henry. It's all right." "Oh, thank you. Look at the time." "Would you bloody curse for once in your life?" William taunts. "It's fuck, look at the time. Or hell shit piss damn it, look at the time." Henry winces at every curse as he collects his things from the front door. He spins off his heel, as if forgetting something, and then rushes to William's side and kisses him on the forehead. William breaks into a lazy smile, then yelping when Henry lightly punches him on the chest. "I'll chip your other tooth if you keep up with that mouth, Afton." "You love my mouth, No. No!" Mike interjects, cupping his hands over his ears in order to block out the obscene counter his father was delivering. Henry reddens a shade deeper than a fire truck as he approaches Mike and ruffles his hair. And Mike thinks back to the similar move that Uncle Henry made when Mike was a kid. And it was one of the few times that Mike felt physically loved by a parental unit. "Thank you, both of you." Henry giddily waves from the door after closing it. William audibly groans, stretching out all of his joints and popping them all at once. Mike has been observing his father more keenly than ever since his episode less than a day before. William still startles at nearly any sound now. The stove closing, the front door shutting, a car hitting the pothole in the street. And Mike will near him, telling him the steps of how to swim. And when William successfully kicks to the surface and keeps his head above water, the grey will return to his eyes. Mike feels a little bit like a sadist, but he likes his dad having his episodes. He's never more human than when he's scared. But at the same time, Mike hates when there's someone out of sorts and he cannot help them. William hasn't mentioned the incident at all from the day before, only saying, I'm fine, when Mike pesters him about it. Instead, he raves about Clara all day. Is she not the most brilliant dancer you've ever seen? And she's tall, you know. Perfect height for me, and she's a brilliant kisser. I really am quite taken with her, Fritz. Your fault, really. You'll be the best man at the wedding. And goes on and on about how he wants to take her out once more. At least Mike has secured his and his siblings' own existence, unless he royally fumbles the bag and Henry and William run away together, which honestly is entirely plausible, given at how good Mike is at screwing things up. William has also not brought up his journal since their conversation in the shop. Mike knows, though, that he still thinks about it. He thinks about it when he stares at Mike in his peripheral vision, waiting for him to crack. He leaves his journal in the same place, under his pillow, waiting to catch Mike taking the bait. He waits for Mike to prove that he's just as morbidly curious as William is, waiting for definitive evidence that Fritz Smith and William Afton are one and the same, and that William finally has a confidant with his perverse thoughts. Mike wishes therapists were more of a mainstream thing in this decade, because Christ, William needs one. Until then, though, Mike can steer all of his efforts into coercing a future serial killer into being a model citizen, only writing of horrible things and never committing them. Why'd you have to go and make me be so altruistic? William groans, stretching out his back as he stands. Yeah, because helping your friend will get you to sainthood, Mike retorts with a snort. William flips him off, this time, and grabs his jacket from the hook. Mike diligently follows his father to his car. It's not yet the Violet Thunderbird, so entering it doesn't quite feel like a death trap. Once, Mike almost dripped his orange juice onto the seat, and Dad blew up at him with no less ferocity than an atomic bomb. When they're finally in the car, the clouds begin to wane into grey, and William pales at the sight. He grips his hands around the wheel, just as he did when he had killed Charlotte, and he shudders a bit, Mike offering him a reassuring smile. It's all right, William. Okay. I promise. It's all right. The clouds part a bit, and with it, William calms. Then, with a smile that seems unnatural on him only because it's warm, he whispers, "Thank you, Fred." Mike could pass out with the compliment. Yeah, Mike stammers. No problem. William's a bit crestfallen that Clara isn't there, but he's huffed out his chest and extinguished his cigarette regardless. Mike raps on the door, and after it opens just a bit, Bella opens it all the way. She rushes away from the door, in the bathroom before they can even say hello. Hi, she stutters, her voice shaky. William is completely amiss about the anxiety within her, but Mike notices, of course, and he frowns. I don't know if Henry called you, Mike begins, but Bella cuts him off. Oh no, don't worry, he did. Thank you both for coming. I really appreciate it. Right. William grunts a bit as he kicks off his shoes and takes off his jacket, tossing them both aside as he approaches a motley of disassembled furniture. Really, you got the right men for the job. It'll get done quicker than Henry, and Fritz here can entertain you like a circus monkey. Dick, Mike whispers under his breath, covering it with a cough, and William snickers as he turns to the furniture, already having each piece in the place it should be assembled in less than a minute. Mike's frown returns when Bella doesn't emerge from the bathroom. He knocks on the door, and she immediately opens it. Her round face is a muted red, as if she has tried to wash away her shame or sadness. Bella? Yeah, she says, wiping her face with her sleeve. Then she conjures up a smile so genuinely false that even William Afton would have to take notes. I'm okay. Thank you both for coming. She gets both of them lemonade from the fridge and sits on the floor with them, handing William pieces when he desires them. Mike has literally never known anything about his Aunt Isabella, other than what his parents and Uncle Henry had told him. She was good, a saint even, and oh, do you remember when she would hold your hair back when you threw up in the toilet, Clara? And you can never forget the night she'd spent at the soup kitchen or tutoring delinquents at the library. And didn't her eyes just light up when she saw Charlotte? And Charlotte looks just like her, doesn't she? Isabella lives on in Charlotte, you know. Mike wonders if Dad was so detached from Isabella that he had no qualms killing her legacy. Even being in the past for almost a couple months, Mike hasn't really learned that much about his aunt. She's not really crucial to the story, he thinks, partially of her own volition. She hangs around Clara like a typical sidekick. She's the love interest to a man that definitely deserves it, and in many ways, definitely doesn't. She's the dead mother to a wonderful girl, in a few decades. She laughs and speaks quietly, and her smile is hesitant, as if she doesn't want to attract any attention by being joyous. She must know that Mike knows that she's putting on a show. For when he offers her a sympathetic hand squeeze, she nearly frowns. It's a short movement, but it exists nonetheless, and Mike is sure that something is wrong. "Cushion," William orders, and Mike hands it to him. Ah, crap. He hates it when his father's right. Henry probably would have taken a couple of hours to build the couch, wanting it to be impossibly perfect. But here William is, completing the task in less than 20 minutes, like his time is ever so valuable. "So," William says, resting against the cushions, "it's done." He offers none of the warmth that Henry undoubtedly would, and Bella is obviously a bit taken aback by it. Thank you." She weakly claps her hands together and bounces against the couch. She quickly furrows and unfurrows her brow. That sure was quick. "Quite. Anyway, Fritz, we should—" Before the two of them can stop it, Bella covers her mouth with her hand and chokes out a cry. She blushes all over, embarrassed to be crying in front of two people she doesn't really know, but she can't stop herself. Mike is by her side in an instant, letting her head fall onto his shoulders. She doesn't elaborate on what's wrong, and neither Mike nor William ask. Mike eyes his friend from the corner of his eye. William looks supremely uncomfortable, shifting in his seat, unbuttoning the top button of his shirt, playing with his hair, at the prospect of being stuck in a room with a crying girl that he cannot swoon to bring back to peace, nor really cares too much about in the first place. Sorry, Bella stammers, and Mike shakes his head. No, it's all right, he swears, and he wraps an arm around her. He glares at William when William scoffs a bit at the act of caring. After a bit more of crying, Mike realizes that Bella was probably entirely capable of assembling the couch herself, and only invited Henry over to have company for the impending bad day. "Fritz," William says with a grunt. "A word?" Mike stares daggers at him before Bella excuses herself to the bathroom once more. "What?" Mike lowly snaps at him, and William innocently raises his hands and not so discreetly rolls his eyes. "We hardly know the girl. We ought to leave her here." "William!" Mike scolds, just short of slapping both his own forehead and his father across the face. "Have a little sympathy." William stares at him like Mike had asked him to send men to Mars in but a week. "Why?" "What the hell do you mean, why?" "I mean, why should I have sympathy? We're not particularly close." "She's important to Henry. Important to Clara. Literally the two most important people in your life." William blinks, uninterested. Mike groans into his palms, and then his eyes light into terms that even the genius idiot can comprehend. "Other people have bombs, too, William." At that, William opens his mouth slightly to reply, but then he customarily scowls. "None of these people have been through the Blitz." "No, but everyone has their own. They would look at you and think you haven't been through anything at all with the way you carry yourself. I wouldn't have even been able to help you if I didn't have my own bombs." Mike searches for this to in some way be a teaching lesson, and nods to himself. "I guess you're just not brave enough to help a poor girl in need." William looks at him like Mike has stabbed in the heart, lit him on fire, and pissed on his grave, and revived him just to do it all over again.
Brave enough,
he retorts with a scoff.
Don't you dare, Smith.
Before Mike can stop him, William marches to the bathroom door, banging his fist against it. A bewildered Bella is on the other side, wiping her face with a tissue.
What's the matter?
He demands, folding his arms to his chest. Mike facepalms and suppresses an audible groan in aggravation, apologies, and disbelief. Bella swallows hard. I got a very bad call earlier.
Well?
William taps his foot impatiently against the floor, like a parent waiting for their child to admit who broke the vase.
Care to elaborate on that at all?
William, Mike begins, but he cuts himself off when Bella cries even more. Do you both, she begins, the words almost not forming. You both ever get the feeling that you haven't lived your life at all? When neither of them elaborate, Mike thinking, yes, God, yes, and William probably thinking,
what the fuck is this Yankee crying about?
Bella continues through a constricted throat. Do you both ever think that life has so much to offer, and you've never taken any of it? Because you're scared. She laughs a bit at herself. I've never taken a risk in my life. Never taken a damn thing. William laughs at her before either himself or Mike can stop him.
That's why you're crying?
William! Mike scolds.
No, seriously, that's it?
William laughs harder.
That's easily rectifiable. Want to take a risk, Barnett? That'll get you to stop crying?
Bella innocently shrugs. All right. Let's go give it a try, yeah? He gently takes her shoulder and escorts her away from the bathroom and to the front door. While she slips on her coat, William looks at Mike and smugly smiles, as if he solved every single thing that plagues the girl in a few condescending sentences. Mike remembers what a douche his father can be, and God, he just wants to throttle him. Mike wants to throttle him even more now, if that were even possible. He proudly presents a minuscule baggie to Bella and Mike in their apartment, waving it a bit. They look like pieces of paper with hearts on them, and when Bella naively inquires, "What is that?" and William declares, "Acid!" Mike literally wants to jump out the window, face first, and beg that he is put back in the ball pit, ready to be impaled by a bone arm. Bella pales as William giddily brings the bag to himself and gingerly takes out its contents. William, I don't know. Where did you even get that?
Well, this bloke in class came to me and said, Afton, listen, I don't have a single minute to do the homework. And I said, how the hell does that concern me? And he said, do you do drugs? And I said, mate, who the hell do you think I am? And he said, once more, I'll get you the drops if you finish this chapter for me. And thus here we are.
Mike rolls his eyes right out of his head when William presses one of the tabs to his pointer finger. I really don't know if this is a good idea, Will.
Bella, don't listen to him. He's just about the squarest fella I've ever met in my entire life.
I've only ever drank before, Will.
All right.
He leers down at her and grins like the devil.
Didn't you say you wanted to take a risk or two?
Christ. William Afton could be the poster child for a DARE program on what not to do, Mike thinks.
Between you and Henry, I doubt you'll even kiss before marriage, let alone try something like this.
Bella blushes, and in a spout of fury, she flicks William on the nose.
Hey!
William looks dismayed, as if he's actually trying to help her. And, after a moment, Mike realizes. Perhaps this is his friend's entirely misguided attempt to aid someone he doesn't know, offering them drugs and bullying them.
You know why we don't know a single thing about you, Bella, other than that you're Henry's girlfriend and Clara's friend? It's because you're too damn scared to even be a person.
Bella slaps him right across the face, and instead of rebuking her, a nearly demented smile tears across his face, and it only widens when Bella takes the tab from William's finger and presses it onto her tongue. Mike yelps and tries to nearly wipe it from her tongue, but she closes her mouth, staring in a deadly manner at William. Instead of murdering her, as he probably would have in 30 years from now, William uproariously applauds and applies a tab to his tongue. With a rise of his eyebrows, he offers the bag to Mike.
Come on, Fritz. Unless you want a babysit for the next day, of course.
Bella's eyes widen.
A day?
Well, about 10 hours,
William elaborates, and Bella frantically paces about the apartment. When she releases a huff of fear, William snickers. Then he slinks over to Mike, placing his hands on his shoulders, the devil tempting Eve.
Come on. It'll be right fun, Fritz. Don't you just want to have a decent time for once in your damn life?
Mike wants to refute that he has indeed had a decent time in his life, but every single person he has ever had a decent time with is literally dead, and most of his fun memories are indeed him being high off his ass. And there will always remain a part of him that wants to make his father proud. Mike says, and presses a tab to his tongue, shrugging unceremoniously. What the hell? They're playing cards to pass the time. It's been an hour, and none of them have felt anything. Bella wins the game, again to William's annoyance, and when she shuffles the cards in her hands, she suddenly stops, staring at her hands and gasping at them. She frantically presents her palms to William and Mike and remarks, "Holy shit!" the Y and the I disastrously overdrawn. Without elaborating on what is so amazing about her hands, she devolves into laughter, crying from how hard she's laughing.
I really do think that...
William begins, and then he cuts himself off, and then he stands, and then he looks at Mike and smiles so broad that it completely consumes his face. And he says,
Oh, yes. This is brilliant.
"Well," Bella says, and she rises with him and gives him a massive hug, and in this state, William actually hugs her back, and she's laughing as she continues. "This is the best idea anyone has ever had in their entire life."
I am full of good ideas, dear,
he says, and he picks her up and swings her around, and they fall onto the floor together, and they laugh so hard that Mike wonders how they're managing to breathe. Mike is about to audibly lament that his tab has done absolutely nothing for him, but then when he picks his head up, his body is so much heavier, and he ends up sprawled on the floor, and all of the colors in the room, grey mostly, begin to blur into whiteness. And Mike starts giggling to himself for no reason. He keeps laughing some more, and his body is so heavy, but it is also impossibly lightweight. And, oh my god, this is the best thing he's felt in his entire life. He manages to tilt his head to the side, and it takes maybe 14 hours to do, but maybe a few seconds. He doesn't really know. And William is drawing something in the air with his finger, and he points to Bella like she can see it, and she's nodding along, sagely. And Mike thinks that, oh Christ, his dad is so smart. His dad is the smartest person in the world, isn't he? He makes such wonderful things. He makes fucking robots. Robots that are borderline humanistic. Like, who the hell else could do that? Well, Henry could, but even Henry couldn't make the Funtime animatronics. But Henry's great, too. And we must admit that Henry is also brilliant. Bloody brilliant, Mike thinks. Then he laughs so hard that he heaves. But Dad is so smart. Mike lifts himself up by his palms and sits on his knees. He points at William, and is in such reverence that he almost cries. "William," he says, "thank God he didn't say Dad, because he really almost did. It was on the tip of his tongue. You're so fucking smart. William sagely nods. I really am, aren't I? And Bella, Isabella, you're like the nicest fucking person I've ever met. Isn't she utterly delightful? Bella beams and claps her hands together. I am delightful, aren't I? Mike then yelps. The couch is so fucking big that he doesn't understand how Bella and William aren't being swallowed up by it. Are you guys okay? Fritz, I'm brilliant, William replies. His voice is so loud, echoing all over the room. And not for the first time. The only sound that Mike can comprehend is that of his father. But this time, his father isn't telling him that he's a failure, but instead, being his friend. His friend. Oh my God, Mike has a friend. Actually, he has a few friends. Isn't that so cool? Oh, it's the coolest, he thinks. It's even normal. Mike's life has never been normal. Fritz, how are you? I'm brilliant, he echoes. And everyone starts laughing so hard that for quite literally 20 minutes no one says anything. Just chuckling witlessly. They've killed all the lights. Bella burning a candle from Henry's room between them, as if to conduct a seance. Bella is rubbing circles on Mike's back as he cries, but his heart is so full, and he's so grateful, and he loves everyone and everything in the entire world. There's nothing bad that ever happens, and Mike isn't a monster. He's just high off his fucking mind. But yeah, right now he's crying. I think, he says, his voice far like he isn't really speaking. The worst part is that I love him the most. Like, present tense. I love Mom and Evan and Liz and Jeremy more than anything, but I love Dad the most. That's the worst part. Bella nods, and she's so wise. And her skin is also blue, and her hair is green, but still she's so nice. It's okay, Fritz, you're just a very loving person. But... Fritz! William screams. And then he immediately quiets. And he whispers. Fritz. Okay, mate. Listen, yeah. Are you listening? Mike eagerly nods. Fuck your old man. He's bloody awful. Just about kill the bastard. Kill the bastard, Mike echoes. And it's such a wise statement. And he nods even more, almost falling into the candle. But I don't want to kill anyone. William leans forward and places his hand on Mike's shoulders and stares into his eyes. And Mike thinks he sees the past and the present and the future in William's eyes. And everything is grey, but it's a nice grey. Like the grey of clouds right before you see a rainbow. Or, Christ, Mike is bad at metaphors. It's grey. Like a nice grey. And he remarks so. And William smiles and thanks him, and it's so nice to have his father thank him for something. William then sternly stares at him and rests his forehead against his. Fritz, really, just focus on yourself. You're brilliant, my friend. I'm not brilliant. Fritz! Bella yells, even louder than William, as she tackles him into a hug. Don't say that! Be so much nicer to yourself, Fritzy. Baby brother friend of mine, I like you. Will likes you, Henry and Clara like you. Be nice to yourself. Be nice to myself? Suddenly, the words manifest in front of him.
And they're so bright and true that Mike feels like he has to run a marathon. So he gets up and he starts jogging around. William starts doing push-ups on the floor. And when Bella sits on his back, he grunts, but he continues the push-ups when she cheers him on.
Bella and William are holding hands. I think, William, listen here. And William nods. You are gonna do such great things in the future.
I know that,
he says. And they both laugh, but then Bella gets deathly serious. No, listen. I see the way you look at yourself in the mirror, you know, when you pick up Clara for a date. So, you know, I just think that you should be like Fritz. Like yourself more. You know?
Bella, Bella, love, I'll tell you a secret, but you gotta tell me one in return. Like equal exchange, yeah?
Mike is sitting prostrate on the couch as he eavesdrops on the conversation, because his body is too heavy now, and he's so happy that he should go to sleep. William leans in close and whispers so loudly that he may as well be talking in a loud voice.
I want to kill people. You know, the people that want to hurt us. But sometimes, even more than that.
Bella's eyes widen, and then she kisses Will on the forehead, and she covers her mouth when she starts to burst out laughing, but William sharply removes her hand and laughs along with her. Mike begins to panic, because the laugh sounds eerily similar to the laugh he had exhibited when he had killed Charlotte. And oh! Charlotte's sitting next to Mike! So Mike sits up and waves to her, and she waves back and toothily grins. But there's blood pouring from her neck. Oh. Oh, shit. I'm sorry I let him.
Nope, Mike, be nice to yourself.
Charlotte is gone, and Mike shakily exhales. And he starts laughing to convince himself that everything is funny. Bella is still cracking up when she says, "Wanna hear my secret?" William nods. She taps her fingers against his forehead like a drum and announces, "I'm dying." Mike sobers for a moment, or at least he stops laughing. What? Bella is still beaming, but she's crying too. That was what my call was about earlier. The doctors got back to me. It skips a generation, you know? But they don't know what it is. They don't give a damn about folks like me, yeah? I'm dying. I'm going up to the sky, you know? Even William has stopped laughing.
What do you mean?
He asks. She shrugs. My mom died early, you know. She was so thin and frail and tired. She died when she was like 25. So I could have 5 years left, but, you know, they don't know. I could die next year. Or I could even die in a few decades, but I'm dying. You're going to die in 15 years, Mike thinks. But of course, even like this, he doesn't say a single fucking thing.
You are dying?
William clarifies.
Yes, sir.
And you are upset, of course.
Yes, I suppose, but, you know, at the same time, I'm really grateful. Because, like, I know that I'll have to live life to the fullest now. And this is the first time I've ever taken a risk. I just want to live my life.
Bella devolves into tears, hiccuping and falling onto William's chest.
I just want to live my life.
William begins to hyperventilate. He stands and paces about the room, pulling at his hair. Oh, bloody Christ, what's going on? Mike bolts from the couch and walks so close to Will that their chests touch. And he cradles Will's head on his shoulder, and he asks, "Well, what's wrong?" "Bombs? Bombs? Oh shit, aren't there bombs?" "But there aren't any bombs, only lovely loud colors." And Mike lazily smiles despite the situation. "My heart hurts. I must go to the hospital. But I detest the hospital, you know. More than anything in this life. My heart hurts. I don't know what's happening." "Will, let me get you with this. Bella said what's wrong with her, and now you feel bad, right? Do you feel bad because she's going through something wrong, or do you feel bad because you imagine yourself in her shoes?" The latter." Mike pulls away and seriously gazes at him. "You're feeling empathy." "Empathy?" The word sounds foreign on his lips. Mike nods. "You feel bad for someone because you can imagine yourself in their place. That's empathy." William sinks to the floor and adamantly shakes his head. "Oh, no, that's not quite possible. I've never felt like this before."
Will,
Bella exclaims, and she embraces him on the floor.
it's okay. You're okay.
"Oh, Christ," he laments. And then he starts laughing so hard that it's as if no one is dying, and no one has ever died before in the entire world. Mike freezes. They've been dancing to the record player, but now William is in the kitchen, and he's withdrawn a knife from the drawer, and he sits on the floor, stabbing the knife into the wood. "Will, what the hell are you doing?" Mike demands. "Having fun," he says, his eyes trained on the blade. Bella falls from her dancing and lands in front of William. They're both laughing, and William flips the knife in his hands like it's a pencil, and he dances it in front of his eyes, mesmerized by it. Mike still laughs, because he's not quite sure if this situation is real anymore, especially when William raises the knife and holds it against his own throat, and then against Bella's, and she's laughing so hard that her throat bobs against the blade. "Gonna kill me, Afton?" she teases, sweating from how hard she'd laughed. She waves him off. "I'm already dying, love." William squints, and then he throws the knife across the room, and he throws his arms around Bella, and everything is quiet. So quiet. And Mike thinks about how much he loves his father, even though he despises him and fears him more than anything. "Don't you die," William mutters. "I cannot bear another corpse."
Okay.
She raises her pinky and forcibly hooks it onto Will's, and she bobs them up and down and repeats, "Okay." Henry ends up arriving with Clara, who wanted to surprise William, and the three denizens of the apartment are sprawled out on the ground, pointing out colors that don't exist. William can only see purple and scarlet, and he's laughing uproariously the entire time. "What the hell is going on?" Henry softly demands, and he blushes that same color of scarlet that William thinks he sees when Isabella rises and wraps her arm around his body. William leans forward and squints at the couple, but when he sees Clara, he rises on his knees and sheepishly looks up at her when she approaches him and cups his face in her hands. She narrows her eyes at him, and she scolds. "Your eyes are dilated. Did you get my Bella high?" "Yes, Mom," he says, hugging her legs and bringing her closer.
Have I told you how ravishing you are, love? Oh, you are so fucking beautiful. Come to the bedroom with me, dear.
Fritz, when did you get all high, and what are you on? Acid, Mike replies, and the purple has spread to his vision, and his mother is so wonderful, and his uncle is the best man alive, and he starts weeping at how much he loves them. It's been years, I think.
6 hours.
Bella remarks. Henry groans, but smiles when Bella looks up at him with a giant smile. I do think we're babysitting Clara. Clara shrugs, pops onto the couch, and William moves over to her on his knees. And when his hands threaten to drift up Clara's skirt, Clara pushes him onto the floor and crosses her legs. I believe so.
Love, you're a villain,
William laments, and he crawls onto the couch and rests his head on her lap, but he eyes Henry at the same time, and Mike thinks that he's a wolf that wants to devour the lot of them. 1 second, Mike says, because he wants a blanket and a pillow, so he saunters over to his bedroom and closes the door for a moment of respite. He thinks the high is dying down a bit, but the colors are still brilliant, and the sounds are so heavenly, and he's so loved. And he thinks he can like himself. So of course, he can't be sober, and he loves and loves and loves so much, and crap, he's still hallucinating, because William is standing in front of him. Oh, but it's Dad. And he's standing there like he had before he had jumped out in front of the car and saved Mike's life. Mike clutches his pillow to his chest, like a shield, and approaches his father. I loved you the most, he accuses, jabbing his finger at the visage of his father. And you did this to me. I've got friends now, you know. And I'm gonna be nice to myself. His father tilts his head, and since he's fake, Mike can say anything he wants to. But he doesn't. He just laughs so hard, and his head and heart are entirely full. And he wraps his arms around his father in a tight hug. I really do think I'm helping you, Dad. We're both liking ourselves, you know? No more bombs. Just bravery. His father opens his mouth to say something, but after a moment the hallucination is gone. But Mike can pretend that perhaps his old man was going to tell him that he loves him. But Mike really needs to hear it. So he marches into the living room where William is replacing the record on the player, and Mike marches up to him, and he hugs him. And William's lavender shirt entirely consumes the room, and Mike can only see purple. And he starts breathing heavily, but forces out a light laugh, and he says, "You're my best mate." William startles, but after a moment, he wraps his arms around Mike too, and he says, "Oh, I know that, you moron." Mike feels sober now, but he laughs anyway. And William laughs too, and soon Bella is, and Henry and Clara are sharing an exasperated glance. But just for now, Mike forgets that everything has ever happened to him. And he just thinks that he finally has friends. And he can pretend that his father loves him and never did such horrible things to him before in his life. He thinks that maybe Evan and Liz and Charlotte are in the next room, and that Jeremy's about to come over. But of course those things aren't true.
is only high.